Hi, my name is Dennis Schultz. I am the Executive Director for Blacks in Technology Foundation. The Blacks in Technology Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit which advocates and promotes Black people in tech. Our goals are relatively simple. We want to get more Black people into tech, and for the folks that are there, we want to see them advance their career. And we do that through a number of resources and programs. We provide free and discounted services like certifications and trainings. And we also provide community programs to help those underserved. And if there's anyone who is new to Blacks in Technology or our events, our programs, you can find us at foundation.blacksintechnology.net. I'll put the link in the chat for those who want to join. It's free to join. I encourage everybody to participate and join. There's opportunities to volunteer and mentor or be mentored. Yeah, please do. With that, today we're going to be discussing Scrum and what Scrum means with respect to IT and what things that you can do to advance your career as a potential Scrum Master and what that entails. So today I have with me instructor and Scrum guru Scott Adams. Scott, if you don't mind, could you just give a little bit of background about yourself and tell the folks who you are?
Thank you, Dennis. I appreciate that. First of all, thank you. Thank you, Black and Technology Foundation. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy New Year. If I haven't seen or heard from you this year, Scott Adams. Who am I? Certainly not a guru by no stretch of the imagination. I would never, ever call myself an expert. So I'm always a student of the game. I'm always learning. There's a lot of stuff out here to learn. Uh, Maybe know more, a little bit more than others. I receive that. Guru, certainly not. But a little bit about myself. What are my interests, my hobbies, things that wake me up in the morning, get me super duper excited. One of the things I am, you already know I'm a Scrum Master. Just finished up a contract with Bank of America for 18 months. That was super duper cool. May get a chance to talk about that in detail, depending upon your questions. One of the things I'm excited about is most people don't know is I'm a professor at Wilmington University in Delaware. I teach computer science. Uh, and typically I'm dealing with the Europe program there. Europe is one of my partners as well as Blacks in Technology. The reason I like partnership with Blacks in Technology in Europe is that we're trying to bridge the gap, the skills gap and the opportunity gap for minorities, specifically Blacks. I'm an Agile coach and trainer for the Scrum.org curriculum. I've been a project manager. I do have my PMP. I am a Lean certified Six Sigma black belt. It's my first job out of college, actually. I went to Appalachia State, by the way, here in North Carolina. I forgot to mention that. I'm in Greensboro, North Carolina now. Born and raised here in the Carolinas. Have spent some time in Buffalo. Dennis, I know you say you like your Buffalo Bills, but yeah, I was up in Buffalo when they kept making it to the Super Bowl year after year after year, not bringing it home. That was a sad occasion. Mm. Things I like to do in my personal time. I love Toastmasters. I'm in Toastmasters again because I love to practice. There's always something I can improve upon. So Toastmasters is an opportunity for me to improve, practice communicating, practice listening, going through the roles that Toastmasters have. Every role is an opportunity to practice on something else. Been in Toastmasters for 2 years, and after I got my selfish needs out of the way, because the first year was all about me. And the second year was like, hey, Scott, I think you'd be great if you volunteer and do this, become area director, do things like that. I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds nice. Let's try it. So now I'm an area director for Area 53. What that means is I got about 5 clubs that I help mentor, help them. But everything I do centers around one thing: servant leadership. That's why Scrum Master. There are 3 roles on a Scrum team. One of them is Scrum Master. I've been in all 3 roles, been a product owner. That's cool. I'm over the product. I've been a developer. That's cool. We building a product. That's nice. But better, I like the idea of helping people to develop. I fit best in the servant leadership role, AKA Scrum Master is that role. But just a little bit about me. I like to ask people, how did you get into this agile space? Interesting question. There's a question you asking about that in your mind. Scott, how did you get in this space? Great. Awesome question. But December is my planning month for the next year. 6 years ago, I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt. So every 3 years, I got to recertify. I got to take some PDUs. Every 3 years, I got to go through that madness with that. And it's also my PMP. So it was that time. I knew I had to recertify the following year in May. And I got my certification through Villanova University. So unfortunately, I can only take Villanova courses to get the PDUs to keep my Six Sigma format, to keep my certification valid. Now, I'm not using it, but it's just one of them things. I don't really want to give it up. I keep going through that. Every 3 years, I go through that process of, should I keep it? Should I let it go? It's costing me a lot of money just to renew this stuff. And I'm not really using it. Not like I was when I came out of Appalachian State. My first job was at General Motors. And yes, I used it back in the 90s, an awful lot, but not now. Things have changed. Lean and Six Sigma is still relevant, but it's not the top dog like it was back in the day. Top dog is Agile. So I'm looking through the coursework at Villanova, looking through the pamphlet. I've taken that already because I've had this certification for a mighty long time. I've almost gone through all of Villanova curriculum. So I'm looking and I see something called Agile Management. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I never heard of that before. That's unique. So I took an awful lot of management classes. I got my MBA from the University of Phoenix. I'm like, this sounds interesting. Agile management. What is this about? So I signed up for that class. Went through stuff like Kanban, which I already knew. That's lean. Extreme programming. I'm bored. I'm about to fall asleep in the class now. I'm just like super duper bored. Like, tell me something new. I'm paying you good money for this course to recertify. Tell me something new. Then in about week 3, they come across this concept called Scrum. Now that woke me up. Scrum. That doesn't sound sexy. And probably the name is really what woke me up, Scrum. There's actually a framework or something out there called Scrum, and people are using this and buying this. And are you serious right now? Scrum, that does not sound sexy at all. So I was, okay, dive a little bit deeper. And when I read it, it was 19 pages. Well, that wasn't in the book. I have my Villanova information over here. Then it sent me to the Scrum Guide, which was 19 pages at the time. And as soon as I read it, it's like a light bulb went off in my head. It's like, wow, we've been doing this all wrong. We've been doing this backwards. Six Sigma is cool, but Scrum and Agile is the way things should be. Interesting. Now that leads me to the next question. What is Scrum? So that's how I got started. I saw that light bulb went off. I never looked back. Unfortunately, not many people know that. So y'all are the first to really hear the real story, how I really got started in this game. At the time, I had my own company, Platinum Mobile Group. I did QR codes. I had the short code 90210. Many of you might know that. Most famous zip code on the planet. So back then, what I was doing was creating mobile campaigns for companies like Harley Davidson. I've been in Wisconsin once, just long enough to get off a plane, go talk to the executives of Harley Davidson, get back on a plane, and I'm out. So that's my vision of Wisconsin. I saw a lot of Harley Davidson's motorcycle, which I haven't got one yet, but yeah, I'm still trying to save to get me one. My birthday is coming up in May. In case if you want to drop one off, I won't be mad at you. Back to Scrum. At the time, I had my own company back then, working with Victoria's Secret, the T-Mobile, the pink lady on the motorcycles. Victoria's Secret, we were doing gamification and stuff like that. And I was using traditional project management to do that. Me and my team would spend an awful lot of time. We get requirements from these companies. build something nice we thought was super duper dope, fly off. That's why I was there in Wisconsin that particular day. So I was showing them this magnificent creation that we had just did. I'm super duper excited. I showed it to them, and after having that discussion, I'm walking out of that office with my head down. Because I got to now go back and tell my team that, well, the meeting, they pretty much thought it was crap. But I wasn't going to tell my team that. This is not what we want. So when I read Scrum, it made sense to me that instead of spending all this time building something and getting feedback, wouldn't it be better if we have these folks who are giving us requirements in the process as we building the process, as we building the thing? How cool would that be? That would be awesome. That's why Scrum, the light bulb went off for me. What is Scrum? It is a framework to help teams solve complex problems. Let's talk about complex problems for a second. A complex problem is more is unknown than known about what we're trying to do. Back then, when I was working at General Motors, we was building cars. In Buffalo, that was the thermal headquarters for all of GM. So we built anything and everything heater related to thermal products, heater cores, radiators for Corvettes, whatever it might have been, came out of Buffalo, New York. But that's pretty much a simple process, or complicated at best. That's why Six Sigma was a thing to do in manufacturing, because we can look at a process, give it some statistical analysis, maybe do a little bit of observation, and we can figure out, and talking to the employees on the assembly line, we can pretty much figure out what we need to do to make that process more efficient and faster so that we can keep up with our plants at General Motors. That was the problem back in the 90s. Well, as well as the strike that was going on, but that didn't help out any, but yeah. But Scrum, fast forward to 2021, there's a small electric car automotive company out there. I know of somebody that actually worked there, and they actually use Scrum and Agile. What is the difference? What does that look like? Well, I remember at General Motors that the problem back then in the 90s was that if a customer wanted a change on something on their car, i.e. something inside the hood, like a radiator or something like that, I will put that change request in. It will go to Detroit. It will come back to my office in Buffalo in about 5 years. Yes, 5 years. Tesla don't advertise. As far as I know, they don't have a change department, but they are big on social media. Customer complain, hey, I don't like this on my car, blah, blah, blah. And Tesla's so bad that the change is made within a matter of 1 to 3 months. It's amazing. How are they able to do that? That is Agile. We are Agile. We have the ability to change, to be nimble. I'm thinking about a cheetah right now. The animal cheetah just running, just Agile. I mean, cheetahs so fast that, hey, it's almost like, hey, they could be going straight and turn just like that. Tesla's a big organization, but yet they're able to make a change that fast. That is truly amazing. Scrum is used there. What is Scrum? When I think about Scrum, I think about a kindergarten class. Would you go with me on this journey? Maybe you hadn't been to a kindergarten class since you graduated, but hey, let's look. Let's take a tour of a kindergarten class. Let's go to a kindergarten school right now. We're walking down the hall. Get ready to open up a door. Whether you got a child in there, niece, nephew, or whatever, you just going back down memory lane where you used to sit in that particular chair. All right, let's open the door. What do you see? We're just gonna crack the door. It's a squeaky door now. It hadn't been no WD-40 on it in a while, so it's squeaky. So you just crack the door. Peep around the corner. What do you see? See some little beings at what I call a mini banquet table, working on some project. Look straight ahead. Look up at the wall. What do you see? Some big alphabets, ABCs, Look over to your right. What do you see? Maybe some numbers. You look to the left. What do you see? Project of the week, project of the month. The teacher in the class spent an awful lot of time creating this nice fancy bulletin board. In other words, you can walk into that class and it's very transparent as to what the kids are working on. You don't have to ask nobody anything. Again, we haven't even made it past the door. We still in the door. We just looking up, peeping around the corner and just watching and observing. I think of Scrum just like that. Now let's fast forward. Let's go to a high school class. Let's go back down memory lane in a high school class. What does that look like? Crack the door. What do you see? Individual chairs, everybody doing their own thing. Teacher may be up front lecturing, writing on the board, perhaps, projector. I don't know what they use now, but back when I was going to school, pretty much everybody had their own space. Do not touch my space. Do not violate this personal space. No, you stay over there. Mine. No, this is me. You got somebody up front just talking to you. The way I ran my business was pretty much like that high school class, AKA traditional project management. Somebody tell me what to do, I just go do it. I don't ask a whole lot of questions. I assume that I know exactly what they're talking about. And I go do it. Yeah, I wasn't that great of an academic student in high school. I think I finally got a B, and that was hard. I was more in athletics. Football was my deal. Basketball was my jam. I didn't have time to study, but I had to go to class in order to stay on the team. So, oh well. But I do remember that. One other thing Scrum reminds me of is the scientific method. I do recall that in school. It was a bad experience, actually. It was that part, of the science class, we had to dissect some big old worm. I hate touching stuff like that. Yeah, I'm from the country, but yeah, I'm not the outdoorsy guy, especially if there's a lot of bugs and stuff like that. And you telling me now I got to dissect a bug? I almost failed that class because I just refused to dissect that worm. I wasn't going to do it. But the other thing from that science class I learned was the scientific method. What is that? We have a hypothesis. We assume something. We test that hypothesis. We get feedback on that, and then we do it again. It's the other thing I see in Scrum. Scrum ain't no different than a scientific method. We have a lot of assumptions. We have a lot of hypotheses. Nobody knows what the customer wants. When I'm talking about Scrum to friends and family, I compare Scrum to the weather. Before Scrum and Agile, the weatherman or weatherwoman was the only person that got paid consistently to be wrong, and it was okay. Imagine that. I was like, wow. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay. Wow. That's not how I grew up. That's what I didn't learn that in the high school class. I learned that in the kindergarten class. It's okay to mess up. But by the time I got to the high school class, no, you don't make those kind of mistakes. No, you don't ask questions. You just do what I say. Interesting. So to me, when I look at Scrum, it's like me going back to a kindergarten class and thinking about all those wonderful memories when I was working with people, working with other students, working with other individuals that didn't look like me. All of us was different. At the table was a whole medley of different personalities and people, and we did some amazing things at a very, very young age. Interesting. That's Scrum in a nutshell. Kindergarten class. So we learned the right way how to do things, but somewhere along the line, we get to that high school class and we think it's all about us. And now, let me go a little bit deeper. In order to understand Scrum and Agile, first try to understand the problem that it's trying to solve. We're trying to get rid of command and control. to some degree, and work in an environment where we want it to be more collaborative, people talk, and come up with the best product is the goal. It's amazing, actually. So how do we get there in Scrum? Go back to the kindergarten class. It's really nothing hard. It's nothing difficult. Agile and Scrum, why was it created? What problem were they trying to solve? They wanted to get rid of business over here on the right-hand side, have these wonderful ideas, these requirements, and then just throw it over the wall to developers and say, hey, look, y'all go build this. How not human is that? I mean, it doesn't really get no more dehumanizing than that if you really think about it. But we did that for years and years and years. Not that long ago. Scrum is 25 years old. Agile is 20 years old. When they was on that mountain in Colorado 20 years ago, creating a manifesto for agile software development, that is the problem they was trying to solve. And if you really deep dive into the principles, you will see one principle talks about business and developers need to work together to come up with this end result, with this outcome. Interesting. Sounds like the kindergarten class to me. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, y'all get together, work on this project. By the end of the day, y'all got to have something done. That's how you're going to get graded today. Are you serious? I keep going back to that. But that's the problem they're trying to solve. Here we are 20, 25 years later, we still hadn't solved the problem. Why is it important? Why is Scrum important to IT? Well, we don't want to do big bang projects anymore because we are dealing with a complex environment. Complex, again, means more is unknown than known about what we're trying to do. So wouldn't it be better to use the scientific method? Because at the end of the day, the only thing we're doing is testing our assumptions. We're trying to validate our assumptions. So wouldn't it be wise to have feedback loops more often than, let's say, 6 months or 2 years down the road when we get ready to release? Oh, when I was a project manager, I had sexy Gantt charts. Oh, my Gantt charts was beautiful. They were so sexy that I dare you to touch it. If there's going to be any update, all updates have to come through me. It was that bad. I spent a lot of time on that thing, y'all. What? Yes. Nonetheless, I was in traditional project manager. I had to be aware of budget, time, and scope. I did the estimating. At least I thought I did. I was deceived. I talked to a lot of people to get estimates done. But at the end of the day, I put the number on this Gantt chart that I created. That is the number. Forget what you say. But I didn't realize I wasn't too transparent, not until the end of the project. With my Gantt chart, everything was looking green, everything looking good. We on track, all my kickoff meetings, all my status meetings, and everything was spot on. Until the day it's time for us to release. It's almost like the stock market having a bad day. I started out green at the end of the day, right before 4 o'clock, it turned to red. Woo! What happened? Like, oh my God. What happened? And then, in that environment, y'all, I can't take all that blame on myself. I got to talk, no, the developers gave me the wrong estimates, this person, I got to start pointing, I ain't taking all that blame. No, I didn't do that myself. How ridiculous does that sound? But it happens every day. But here's the other problem. So we're trying to solve this problem. Company wants to jump on the Agile and the Scrum bandwagon. That's great. That's great. It's an awful lot of training that needs to be going on. Yeah, I train people for 2 days at a time, but 2 days at a time is not going to get it. Because command and control is so deep into our bones that we don't even realize it. in that 2-day class, it is revealed to you how deep command and control is in our spirits and in the way we do business. It becomes evident then, but until you go back to an environment that actually supports what we're teaching you, then it's very easy to fall back into what you're used to, normal ways of doing business. That is the hardest thing I see with Agile and Scrum. Most people are aware of the terminology. Most people are aware of what to do. They do a mechanical Scrum, as I call it. I teach and do professional Scrum. What is the difference? I know my proteges and students by two things: Ocean 11 and Sweet 16. Most companies are doing Ocean 11. Yeah, they got the 3 roles down. They got the 5 events. They going through the motions. They got the 3 artifacts, plus commitments now with the new update. They doing that. And then it stops there. Interesting. I teach and practice what makes me so successful and so sought out is I use Sweet 16. What is the difference? Well, if you add up 3, 5, and 3, you get 11. Think about the movie Ocean 11. What is that movie really about? That movie is about robbing somebody. So in my presentation, I tell people, give them this scenario, Ocean 11. The movie is about robbing somebody. So if you want to rob your team from having the fullness that Agile and Scrum that can provide you, do mechanical Scrum. However, you want to have teams like me that are happy, that are great, and everybody's been on a team like this, but for some reason, it's acceptable to have that in this space, which is trying to correct that problem. It should not be. Why is it not changing? You're forgetting about the 5 most important things. The values. I think of C4. What is C4? C4 is something that blows things up. It's an explosive. And an easy way to remember the Scrum values is C24. C, the number 2, FOR. Courage, commitment, focus, openness, respect. If you can bring those to your team and they embody that, oh my goodness gracious. As a Scrum Master, I focus on that. That's really what gets my team to delivering consistently. That's what gets my team to collaborating like that kindergarten class. We're setting boundaries. We have rules. We have guidelines that we as a team, how we work together. One great book that really helped me appreciate that was Dare to Lead by Brené Brown. I remember I was driving to work one day before COVID hit. Listen to our audiobook. It was a 1 hour, 15-minute commute every day. So, I hate to waste time. So I call it, hey, I'm going to put myself in car university. Go well. Easy way to get audiobooks. Yeah, I try to read at least a book a week. That was super duper cool. Maximize my time. I love to drive, maximize it. No problem. Dare to Lead by Brené Brown. I got to this portion of the audiobook where she said, you never really know a person until you know what they value. Y'all, I'm driving. Luckily, I'm on the interstate. So, it's already on cruise, but I'm fumbling, trying to get back. Say that again. Please say that again. You never really know a person until you know what they value. Interesting. I really deep dive in that thing. I played it like a couple of times. By the time I got to work, I walked in and, people thought maybe I was having a bad day, but I think, I was just mesmerized by that statement. Scott, you okay? Yeah, man, I'm okay. I'm just checking out this audio book, Brené Brown. She's just messing me up right now. I'm kind of in conflict with what she's saying. But after I calmed down and read some more, she's got a doggone good point. Interesting. Lead with values. Then it took me back to something else I remember. People don't care what you know till they know how much you care. It's kind of how I lead when I talk to people. It's really hard for me to talk about myself and what I've done because I kind of know that. I've kind of been through that phase in life. When I went to General Motors, I just got out of college. This was my very first lesson. I'm feeling all good about myself. I'm going to Buffalo, New City, you know, Appalachian State. I was on a mountain going to college there. So I felt like that got me ready for Buffalo, but it didn't, because Buffalo had a lot of snow. Buffalo had blizzards. Appalachian just had dust. I heard of drift before I went to Buffalo, but this is before Fast and the Furious was out. So I thought drift was something like a car going around a curve. No, drift in Buffalo means that if you have a pickup truck outside, you cannot see that pickup truck the next day. That's drift. You walk out the house or you just look out the window, just look as far as you can. It's almost like you in another world. Strange, actually. Looking at the comments. But Buffalo, the lesson I learned at that plant, you know, I had a nice title. You know, my job at that time was to help General Motors get out of this area. It was going through a big word is not protest. What is it? The union was going against the company, but that was going on during the time. And it was my job to help try to get the company past that. I had a great title, as well as to fix some processes. You know, I had a title doing all these great things and talking to mechanical engineers, I had a whole team of people to solve this problem because we couldn't keep up with the manufacturing plants in Detroit. We couldn't make the product fast enough. That was one of the problems we had with the strike back in the 90s. We knew on paper that this process could work. We tried for months after we laid it out. I was out there working with the team every day, trying to get this done. The problem with that is I'm from the South. If I see something wrong with my team, I'm going to jump in and help. But you can't do that in New York. You can't do that for General Motors because it's a unionized environment. So I was talking to the union people, having agreements every day. But I found a back door. I found a loophole. Scott, you're on the line working with the people again today. You know you can't do that. Well, hey, I'm training these people because I know they can do this. They ain't giving me my number, so I'm gonna be out there until they give me my numbers. Okay, Scott, I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, John, I'll see you tomorrow too. Same time, same show. Going home one day, I discussed one of the employees. He saw I looked like a puppy dog, just had a bad day. You know, my tail between, my legs, and I'm just going home like, I know this can work. His name was Mike McKenna. Mike McKenna. He came up to me and said, Scott, like you having a bad day. Another bad day. I said, yeah, Mike, what you want, man? I know you just trying to, you see I'm bleeding right now. I know you just want to rub some salt into my wound. Come on here, Mike. What is it, man? He said, we can get you those numbers. He said, but you know why we don't? I said, Mike, quit bull jobbing, Mike. What you talking about, man? He said, what we mad about is the people is because you sat in that office, you didn't talk to VPs, the CEO, this and that, and the third, and you never came once and asked us a thing. I didn't see that, y'all. Command and control. So I'm used to telling people what to do. Didn't even think about that element. Why don't we get the people involved in this? Have a conversation. That just went straight over my head. It's like, wow. I felt so bad that day. He did. He put salt on that wound. It was already burning. It was stinging, But I came into work the next day. I talked to him. Say, hey, Mike, I apologize. You're right. I was wrong. Blah, blah, blah. What can I do, Mike? He said, do nothing. He said, just stay your little office, stay your little air conditioning. We'll give you your numbers. It's 8:00 in the morning. I said, okay. And I go to lunch about 1:00. And in a unionized environment, it's crazy. I come from the South, right? The work state. You work for 8 hours. It changed my mind. I walked out at 1:00 to go to lunch, and I see them laying on the carts and laying on the machine, chilling. That's not nothing new, but normally that didn't happen for around 2 or 3 o'clock, maybe a couple hours before the shift is over, because in a unionized environment, once they hit their rate, they're done for the day. Hey, Mike, hey, what's going on, man? He said, we done, Scott. I say, done with what? I said, done with what? I said, you're right. I said, where is it? He said, it's already at the dock. It's on the way to Michigan. I said, you bull jiving me. He said, no. Ever since then, I'm 20 years old. That was the biggest lesson I ever learned in life. And I never went back. Always get the people involved that are doing the work. It doesn't matter what engineer you have. It doesn't matter. Unless you get the people who are actually doing the work, because they're the ones who really know what's going on. And they did. They knew what to do to make my numbers true or to make my numbers false. And my numbers were wrong either way. Because that rate that I gave them required them to work maybe 6 hours, and they actually did it in 3. So now we're thinking that all these intelligent people thinking like, pretty dumb. We could have got a little bit more out of them. Nah, y'all, let's leave it alone. That's why I love Scrum and Agile, because it's about the human aspect of people. It's the way we should be doing business. One of the things I do when I go to a company now is if it's not diversified, I make sure it's diversified. Because a diverse team is going to be the best team, is going to deliver the best product on any day, bar none, hands down, period. A diverse team. That's why I spend my times here with Blacks in Technology in Europe, because it's focused on minorities. I'm not shy about where I stand on things. I can honestly say, some of my friends I talk to on a personal level, I can honestly say that right now, probably the first time in 50 years, I actually feel good to be a Black man. I feel good to be a Black man. If you're a woman, I can't relate, but it's our time. It's our time. Our time is now. So yes. What makes Agile Sphere program unique? My personal goal is to train and mentor and coach whatever I can. The number is 10,000. 10,000 Scrum Masters by 2030. Why 10,000? Well, the average annual salary for a Scrum Master is $118,000 right now as of December the 20th. If I can do that, how would the trajectory change for minorities and their communities? 10,000 Scrum Masters by 2030 is $10 billion annually coming into those households. Period. Why do I only focus on 3 classes? I teach applying professional Scrum, Scrum Master, Scrum Master 2. Because when I think about what I'm doing, I'm thinking about my children, I'm thinking about your children. I came up on the Bible. My mama, she's a pastor. My sister's pastor. You know, servant leadership is natural to me because I've had this instilled in me at a very young age, as a child. Yeah, I drifted away, but I'm back now. You know, prodigal son, as they call me, black sheep of the family. But I'm back. I'm back in a big way. Some of the things I like, Scrum.org. You know, they realized that, hey, out of 300 PSTs on the planet, maybe 5 of them are black. I had the courage to start having these conversations with Scrum.org. Successfully, you know, thankfully they turned out great. That's how I was able to get involved with the Europe program as the Scrum.org ambassador for Europe, which focuses on minority kids. Well, they're not kids, young adults, my apologies. That resonates with me. Scrum.org realized, you know, they haven't went down the minority path as they should. I train PSTs, I coach them. But one lady, I was getting her ready for an application. She wanted to go down this journey. It's a long journey to become a professional Scrum trainer. It is the most difficult thing I've ever done. It took me a year and some change to do. I'd spent 1,015 hours by the time I became a professional Scrum trainer. I knew counting the cost, as most of you know, if you're black, that in anything we do, we know they're going to move the finish line. We factor that into the equation because we know it's going to happen. And yes, they moved the finish line. You know, they did not disappoint. You know? But I was able to talk about how that finish line was moved in these courageous conversations we was having last summer. So this person I was mentoring, she had an interview with the with Scrum.org a week or so ago. She is Black. And to my delight, after the call, she called me. She said, Scott, oh man, the interview was awesome. You know what? She said, for the first time in my life, I feel good about being a Black person. She said, Scott, in that interview was almost like they rolled out the red carpet for me at Scrum.org. I was like, what? Are you serious? I was shocked. I said, that's very nice. She said, Scott, I mean, I've never been treated like that in my life. Like, wow. Wow. I don't tell people about my experiences in that because I don't want my experiences to knock what you may do. So I only talk about the positive. That's all I need to be talked about. Other than my close friends, Eugene, I see you on the line. Thank you so much for being here, sir. It's one of my mentors I've met along this journey. I called him last night and said, hey man, should I use a PowerPoint or just talk to him straight up? One of the people I respect and love like a brother. People I've met along this way. Agile Sphere gives you somebody you can relate to. Agile Sphere gives you a vision. What is that vision? Why do I specifically talk about Scrum Master versus the other two roles? There is a reason. Let me go back to biblical history. One of the sad things about Moses when he was leaving his people from Egypt is that if you really think about that story, it's a very sad story in the fact that the people he led out, the older generation, didn't make it. Why? Because they couldn't change their perspective or their ideas on what the promised land looked like. Interesting. So I've seen Black product owners. I've seen Black developers. If you're a Black product owner in the environments that I've been, that you're not going to be the mini CEO in which the position requires. You're going to have somebody who you pretty much going to have to go get approval to do what you want to do, even though I know we can build something amazing. Just leave us alone. Let us do it. I don't want you in that spot. If you want to go in it, if you're young and vibrant like I was, want to take on the world, have at it. As a developer, you can get lost into just building product. You can work long hours. And if you don't have a good Scrum Master that really leads with the values, when it comes release time, you can be working like all-nighters. I know developers, when I first got to Bank of America, that tell you how bad the situation was. If you're a good developer, you are lead by title, and you also don't have time for your family. It was so bad for this lady that her husband had to schedule time with her for their anniversary. I found that out. Like, no, we got to correct that. No. We don't operate like that. Not on Scott's watch. We do not operate like that. You got to do what? Fix that immediately. You look at my LinkedIn from the Bank of America people, that's what they talking about. Scott knows how to build great teams. It's really nothing I'm doing other than leading with the values. It's going back to that golden rule. Treat people like they want to be treated. There's nothing amazing about what I do. But you got to be firm on what it is. Agile Sphere, just give you somebody you can relate to. If you want to become a PST, I would love to mentor you and help you in any way, share anything I can to help you along that journey. If you want to become a better Scrum Master, anything I can do to help you along that journey. Scrum Master is a change agent. In the first class, you learn how, number one, how a Scrum team should operate. You get to see how that kindergarten class, it's going to take you back to that kindergarten class and show you, this is how we should be doing. This is how we do it. Excuse me, I'm back. The Scrum Master 1 class, in that class, it's going to be revealed to you the power that you have as a change agent to make change, because our service as a Scrum Master is to the Scrum team, the greater organization. It isn't a 2 class that you get that sense that I can make some positive. Heck yeah, you can make some positive change. You badass. And by the time you get to professional 2 class, we give you more tools and techniques to make you super bad, to make this organizational change, to go back to why Agile and Scrum, the problem it was trying to solve in the first place. Interesting. Interesting. I've said a lot. I want to make sure I have time to answer your questions.
So Scott, we definitely have a few people that have put questions in the Q&A. And I'll just start reading from the top down and we'll just knock out as many as we can. And
Perfect.
if anybody at this point in time wants to ask a question verbally, just raise your hand, I'll unmute your mic and you can ask. But the first question is, what are your thoughts on the latest Scrum Guide 2020? How do you feel about the Scrum Master role being referred to as a true leader instead of a servant leader? I don't know what that means, but I'm sure you might. So.
Absolutely. Great question. I like the new Scrum Guide because now the whole Scrum team is responsible for the outcome of what we deliver. Even though the developers are responsible for building it, at the end of the day, it's the whole Scrum team, point one. And the other point was, what was the other thing, Dennis?
He said, what was it? The reference, Scrum Master role being referred to as a true leader.
Oh, yes. Yes, true leader versus servant leader. Servant leader is a technique, a leadership technique that you can use. So we're trying to make they was trying to make the Scrum Guide less prescriptive. Servant leadership is a management style that you can use. It is the most popular. I still use it. But what Scrum wanted to do was give you more options to figure out other management and leadership styles that are not command and control that you can use. So they didn't want to make it prescriptive and just limit you to servant leadership. But the idea is still, yes, we want to be servant leaders. And they also want to emphasize that, hey, because Scrum Master is the most misunderstood position inside of a company. If a Scrum Master is allowed to do his or her job, there never would have been a need for Agile coaches because our services to the Scrum team and the greater organization, if we're allowed to do our job. I'm an Agile coach, so I think I can speak to that. And I got, my friends are Agile coaches. We have these conversations all the time. But a Scrum Master is a true leader from the sense that, hey, you have the authority and the ability to impact change at your level. You are a leader, period. Next question.
It kind of leads into the next question, which is, how would you describe Agile?
Agile. Yes, I kind of been using those words kind of synonymous in the same breath. Agile is a methodology. I like to think of it as
okay.
Agile methodology. I got an umbrella. I am underneath this umbrella. Agile methodology would represent the umbrella. Underneath that umbrella is Scrum. You have Kanban, you have XP, but the biggest and the best, the most used of them all is Scrum. I don't know our exact market share, but it's somewhere around 70 to 80% of companies around the world are using Scrum versus the other frameworks. Hope that helps.
I see, you're Alpha and your wife is the AKA, so y'all kept it in the family. All right, next question. How did you transition from Scrum Master to Agile coach role?
I've never officially been an Agile coach. I teach, coach, and train Agile coaches. I don't want to be in that role. I'm not a political person because, as an Agile coach, I foresee myself dealing with the people that Moses are leading from Egypt. I don't want to deal with those people. I'm just waiting on them to die out. Meanwhile, I'm focusing my time and attention on the young crew, which is Europe. I'm getting the young crew ready to build up so that when that old crew fall out, we're ready to take over. I may or may not see it in my lifetime. But again, I'm thinking about my kids. I'm thinking about your kids. That when all those crazy folks die off and this new generation I'm working on now, oh my goodness gracious, it's going to be crazy.
Okay, Moses, we see you in the promised land. All right. Out of the years that you've been involved with Scrum, when is the first time you successfully saw it implemented and the first time you saw it fail?
One more time. Give me that question again.
Okay, out of the years you've been involved in Scrum, when was the first time you successfully saw it implemented, and the first time that you saw it fail?
First time I saw it fail was my first job after selling my company, or my first job outside of the mobile media company I had. I went to work for Walmart as a project manager. Then I got introduced to Scrum there. They had scaled Scrum and all that stuff. That's not what I learned and how I implemented within my own company. So I didn't stay there long. Then I went to Ahold Delhaize, which they were trying to do it the right way. Took us a while, but we finally got there. You know, the thing about Scrum is the scientific method. I mean, there are no best practices. If you have an idea, try it and see what happens. What I like to lead with my teams is I will have a retrospective and center around what's a time that you've been on a part of a great team. What did that look like? What did those characteristics look like? Take those and okay, what one or two things can we work on as a team towards the achievement of that great team that you used to work on? I would like to have that now. Wouldn't you? Of course, all of them gonna say, heck yeah, let's do the doggone thing. Start there.
All right. I'm going to take one of the live questions since Rico was brave enough to ask and talk. Hey, Rico, you want to ask your question?
Sure. Thank you. Scott, good job with your piece. Very clear, very coherent in your presentation. I appreciate that. I'm an Omega man, so I see your alpha sign back there, so to shout you out.
I love you.
Auntie's an AKA, so it's all good. Question was something more directly related to what I'm doing in my startup. I have a Scrum Master that I'm working with who's controlling our product delivery. And my question is, can you give me a little bit of advice or a little bit of your insight on when Scrumming goes wrong? when you get off track? We're using Trello, and we visually can see where things are, where they should be, and dates and deadlines, things of that nature. But having working with some freelancers and our in-house team, it's got a little muddy and got a little off track. And I'm trying to get it back on track and get everyone together in sync with our ceremonies because of the time differences and things of that nature. Maybe you can speak on that a little bit. I appreciate it.
When things go out of whack, Rico, thank you for your question. When things go out of whack, what do? Take your hands off of it, Rico. Take it to the team. They have the answer. It may not be the exact answer. It may not be the perfect answer, but take it to the team. Our job as Scrum Masters is to reveal, but not resolve. At the end of the day, we got to think whatever's coming out of our mouth, our approach to our team, it should empower them. The best example I can give you is one of the things I love about Toastmasters is once that person gets enough courage to have that icebreaker speech, that first speech, oh man, they probably up there sweating bullets and stuttering over their words and blah, blah, blah. But you fast forward to 1 year from there and they stick with it, speech after speech, every moment they getting that practice in, that same person's up there speaking on a whole nother level. They got confidence and this and that, the other. So help your team. Take it to the team. Help your team. I look at something like sprint review. And what I'm looking for at sprint review is everybody participating in that event? If not, I want to get everybody participating because I found some of the best presenters is never the lead. It is that person that's quiet over there that we're not getting engaged in our team. Get that person engaged. Your whole team comes up. Just keep finding out little ways like that where you can get people involved and amazing things will happen. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Rico. Ben, you're up.
Hey, good evening, guys. I got a question for both of you. What is the biggest challenge that you guys have with the Scrum Master? So I got one more question for you guys.
I'll let you answer that one, Scott.
Being patient. Your biggest deal with Scrum Masters is being patient. For example, developer come to you and say, hey, Scott, hey, can you go over? I got a dependency on another team. Can you go over and talk to that person? No. Look at the scenario. I have an opportunity to teach and train. No, John or Jill, I think it'd be best if you go over there and talk to them. I can go over and make the introduction if you want. But hey, I think you can handle it. Come back, let me know how it worked out for you. And invariably, they come back super duper excited. In other words, they was looking for permission to go over there and talk to that. problem still isn't resolved. But yeah, great question.
Yeah,
Did I answer your question, Ben?
Yes,
Go
I have one more question. If someone's new to how do they get experience on working with Scrum Master if they don't have it as a resume?
That's a very good question. Okay, cool. I didn't finish my story. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm in Villanova University. I'm in this Agile management class. December, I decided that I'm gonna go work for another company in 6 months. I looked at job descriptions. I said, okay, I'm gonna be working in 6 months for somebody. Let's take that in reverse. What do I need to do? I figured I'd pull out about 5 or 6 applications per day. If I looked at any application, I saw a term or an issue on there that I did not know, I went and looked at that, because Agile and Scrum is a very wide environment, a lot of books to read. But if you see something on the job description you don't know, go learn it. And I look at interviews as practice. Your first interview, you're probably going to bomb. It's going to be like your icebreaker speech at Toastmasters. But you keep interviewing, you keep practicing. After a while, you're going to know exactly what employers are looking for. You know, it took me 15 interviews and 150 applications before I got my first job working for somebody else. Stick with it. If you're serious about it, the how will come to you. Just figure out what you want to do. The how will come along the way. It's a journey.
I'll take one more live question, and then I'm going to go back to the questions in the chat. And we're right at time. So, Scott, do you have a little bit of time to go over?
Dennis, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, great. All right, so Tanya, go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. I'll make it brief. So for someone such as myself that presently have their PMP certification, but want to step into the Scrum role, how do I go about I guess, how do I go about taking the necessary steps to do that? Should I at least start with studying for the exam, or maybe step into I don't know. I need some guidance.
Okay. Thank you, Tanya. Don't overthink it. You're a project manager, which means you already have all the skills that are on the Scrum team. They just done differently. Understand that the same skills that you have as a project manager, we do estimating in Scrum. The developers do the estimating. If you want to be a product owner, they're responsible for the product. So yeah, you're probably going to have to be thinking about time and scope. We don't call it that, but again, the same skills for a traditional project manager is on a Scrum team. It's just spread out on the 3 different roles. Nor do we do Gantt charts. Some things you can do to get in the game, start reading, see what role might be applicable to you. Because my transition was from project manager to Scrum Master. I tried product owner, I didn't like it. I tried developer, I didn't like it. I felt like, Scrum Master was a sweet spot for me. So I recommend you try all the roles, and just to make sure that what role you land on is where you want to be, if you can. Well, if you're not a developer, you're kind of limited to 2 roles, either product owner or Scrum Master. What else do you need to do? Well, maybe take a class. The thing I like about scrum.org is, well, you don't have to take a class. If you feel like you can do the self-study on your own, scrum.org programs is such that if you feel like you're ready to go take the PSM exam, just go take it. Do self-study and go take the exam. I think it's $150, $200, a whole lot cheaper than going to a class. And that's what I did when I got started. Let me check this out, see if it's worth my time. And the other thing I like about the certification is it's a lifetime. Once you get it, you don't have to go do this recertify stuff like my PMP and my 6 Sigma black belt and all of those. Does that help, Tanya?
I'll put it back on mute. I'm assuming she says yes. But just a quick plug for Scott too. I mean, we have a program where Scott is providing training for Scrum Master at a discount. So if you wanted to work with Scott and his team, it is in the members section of Blacks in Technology. It's free to become a member. Discount is included, so it's a win-win. So definitely check that out. Okay, we'll do a few more questions if you're ready, Scott.
Yes, sir.
See, out of the years you've been involved in Scrum, when was the first and oh, no, I answered that one live already. Okay, got that one done. Let's see, next one. How does becoming Scrum certified help with interviews, since all employers ask for experience? And I think we kind of touched on that, but.
Well, there's a little bit more I can add to that. Because when I came in the game, there were no junior Scrum Masters. Now I see a lot of applications, because if you go to Indeed right now, I hadn't checked in a couple of days, but I talk about this with the Europe students. Right now, there are 7,000 jobs out there that employees are looking to pay an average of $118,000. Not all of them are going to be experienced professionals. They have to allow for new people to come into the game. And also, if you look at a junior Scrum Master, you will see, yeah, they have preferred experience, but also up underneath that preferred is also going to say something, no experience required. In other words, get paid to learn. Either way, however you get in. So what? So here's the deal. So even if you have to take a junior master deal, guess what? You get 6 months or 1 year behind your belt, then now your recruiter's going to start calling you. However you get in, doesn't matter. It's wide open for you.
Let's see, I recently got my CSM, CSPO certification. As someone who's new to the role, what's the best advice on getting employed in the role and getting experience to prepare for that role?
Very nice. I always tell people, find ways you can use Scrum in your own life. I use Scrum in my personal life. Let's see, behind me, you see $1,000 a day club. I use Scrum to help me manage my trades in the stock market. For example, at 7:30 in the morning, I'm doing sprint planning. I'm looking at what stocks, based upon what I'm seeing for the day, are going to do pretty good. I place my trades in at about 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm going to have daily Scrum at 11:30. Why 11:30? Well, I put a trade in at 10 to 10:30, 9:30, 10 o'clock. So I want to see how that trade is going. If it's not going in my favor, then I need to get out. Okay. Then I'm going to have a sprint review at 4 o'clock. Why? Because the market closes at 4 o'clock. So my goal is to reach $1,000 per day. So by 4 o'clock, I know whether I may hit that goal or not. And then what I'm going to do after that, I'm going to have a sprint retrospective. Okay. Was there something I could have did to better my outcome? And then guess what? Then tomorrow, I'm going to do it all over again. The stock market is very complex. Nobody can predict what's going to happen. So I use Scrum to manage complexity.
All right, I like that. What do you think are the traits of a great Scrum Master?
Several traits. Some of those elements is that you are a servant leader. It's not about you. It's about the team. How I measure that, or how we measure that from a servant leader standpoint, is, are the people you leading, are they growing? Think about the product owner is responsible for the product. The developer is responsible for building the increment. The Scrum Master is really the one true person that really has the time to research other tools and ideas that could help their team grow. So if you, let's say, fast forward, if you're a Scrum Master, you look at your team 1 year from now and your team is doing the same stuff and got the same thing, then it's something you need to work on as Scrum Master. Again, I can't tell you what that is. Servant leadership is a start, and patience.
All right. Next, what is the path towards Scrum Mastership? Cost, time, certifications, online? Is it like project manager or PM, where you have to have hours of PM already to get certified as a PM? Let's talk to that.
No, that's why I say I like scrum.org, because you can do self-study. They do have a track. Competency is what they call them. It's laid out pretty detailed by categories, teams, empiricisms, whatever. Scrum Master competencies on scrum.org. Again, it's self-study. If you feel like you're ready to take the exam or become certified, boom, you certified. No employer is going to ask you, have you been to a class, or did you just take the exam? I've never had that question. I've never seen that on a job description. So if you're certified, now that puts you in a whole nother dynamic, because at the end of the day, an employer is looking for Scrum Master certification. And I like scrum.org because it is the most sought after certification. Why? Because we have the hardest exam on the planet. That exam is 80 questions you have to do in 60 minutes. But employers know that you know your Scrum stuff. Why? Because some of the other exams, if you have a pulse, you can pass the exam. Not scrum.org. You know your stuff. And employers know that.
All right, let's see. Raquel, I'm not sure I understand your question. Maybe if you're still here, you can ask your question live. I'm going to go to the next one. How do you determine if Scrum Master or Product Owner is the ideal role? I think
Again, that is
I think we talked to that.
Yeah, that is an individual thing. You just obviously just try to see. Use Scrum to figure it out. Use empiricism, which we make decisions based upon no. Try it. Either you like it or you don't. Try the other road.
All right. And we'll do one more. And I've been a QA engineer for a little over 8 years, and I've been working with Scrum the entire time. I'm currently preparing for my PSM1 cert. What advice or resources would you recommend to clear the exam?
For the PSM1? PSM1, okay, great. Scrum.org, again, they have it all laid out for you. They have an open assessment on their website, which is a practice exam, which simulates the real world exam. In some cases, excuse me, you might even see some of the same questions on the real exam. The other thing I like about the open assessment is whether you get it right or get it wrong, they're going to give you feedback so to help you understand your thought process and their process. So if you get it wrong, you get a detailed explanation of why you got it right, why you got it wrong. It'll validate your assumptions.
All right.
I recommend you keep taking it till you make at least 100% before you take the actual exam.
And we're 10 minutes over, and I want to be mindful of time. So Scott, thank you very much. I know we didn't get to all the questions, but if you still have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I can get them to Scott, or you can join Blacks in Technology. I know Alex put the link to the Slack channel in there. We want to get more active conversation around Agile and Scrum, so feel free to participate there as well. And don't forget, we have this gentleman right here who can actually train you to be a Scrum Master. So he's graciously given us a discount on his services. So please feel free to take advantage and let me know if you have any questions about how to participate in that program. Thank you again, Scott. I appreciate your time. Thank you for the attendees. We'll post this live in the next 24 hours and look forward to seeing you at future BIT events. Take care. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you again, Dennis.
Thank you, Scott.